Shifting drills are one of the most important techniques for developing all aspects of double bass technique. As the great Gary Carr has often said, these are really more right-hand exercises. And in today's video, we're going to dig into the fundamentals of shifting technique so you can follow along even if you're a beginner. Then we'll show you how these exercises develop and improve your posture. Finally, we'll take it to the next level with exercises that really stretch your technique. All that, plus a bonus or two in today's video. I put everything that we're covering today into a PDF so you can download and follow along. And I'll also link up to some shifting resources so you can really go down the rabbit hole with all of this. Before we do anything, let's just cover how the left arm actually works when you shift. And I call it the elbow on a string concept. See, all the parts of the arm, they don't work at the exact same time. And I kind of think about it like if you were throwing a ball. What goes first? Well, it's not your hand. You rev up and the elbow actually goes and your hand leads. And the same concept is true when you're shifting on the bass. Everything just doesn't move all at the same time. There's a little bit of prep and then the hand follows. So if you can just imagine that your elbow is attached to this string and the string is being pulled up and down, that's a wonderful way to practice shifting. These exercises are great without the bass too, so you can put it down and just practice this motion when you're walking around the street to look nice and weird and you're walking the dog in one hand and doing this, but just getting comfortable with that concept of the elbow leading and the hand following. That's the first step for getting comfortable with the fundamentals of shifting. And just take that exercise and sprinkle it into your everyday life. Every few minutes, just pick up the bass or without the bass and just do that motion. I like that kind of sprinkle concept for vibrato or any sort of new technique. Like I said, this is also very much a right hand exercise and might end up being predominantly a right hand exercise. And so understanding the next concept, which is bow shifts, is crucial. This is something that the wonderful double bass educator Andy Moritz talks about in his book, Scale Skills. I will link up to that. And here's a clip of Andy describing this concept.
The speed of the bow, the weight of the bow, all of that stuff becomes constant. I want that stuff to be constant. And then the bow shift, what I call the bow shift, migrating the bow in the north and south axis of the string to become, that's the variable that we're going to try to master.
Here's the first exercise, my favorite scale to do with this, and you can download the PDF that you see here if you want to follow. My favorite scale, and most people's on the bass, is A major for developing these shifting drills, or like Gary Carr calls them, vomit exercise. And he calls them vomit because two reasons. One, you throw your hand up the bass as you go, and two, you're gonna kind of want to vomit just from the sound and the feeling of that. That's not really true, but that is what Gary says. I have repeat marks are on each one of these shifts, and as with everything on the bass, take your time, go slow, repeat just the first shift until you're comfortable with it, and then move on. So I'm going to do all of these, but just chill out on the first shift. That's totally cool. So we'll go A to B. I'm going to take first finger. I'm going to go 1 for the low note, 1 for the high note. So that's what we call a 1-1 shifting drill. Once you're comfortable with that, you go on to C sharp. And I'm now just starting to feel like every note has a little bit of motion toward the bridge. Not much, because we're still only shifting this much, although that is almost a violin, I will point out, just for this major third. And as these shifts get bigger, we're just going to shift the bow a little bit lower toward the bridge. Also, as we're going, I'm going to think about using a little more bow speed on the top note. We'll get more into that later in the video. As we continue to go up in these shifts, I am going to think a little bit more bow speed. I'm really trying to keep the sound of the low note and the sound of the high note the same. And as we get deeper into this video, it's going to be a little more of a challenge as these exercises get more challenging. But for right now, just think about keeping that sound the same. It's just getting a little closer to the bridge and also just a little bit faster with the bow for the high note. So all the way up to E. You'll notice that I'm going into thumb position. As I get up here, my thumb is on the string, and I've done many videos about that, which I will link up to. So if that's new, pause this video, go learn some thumb position, and then come back. All we do is then turn around and do 1-1 all the way back down. So let's take and do that continuously. I'm going to repeat each shift twice. So I'm going to do A to B, back to A, and then do that again. Go up to the A octave and come back. Notice I'm not doing vibrato. That will come later in the video. And we'll just do that 1 to 1. So that is a 1 to 1 shift A major, and there are many different ways to vary these. I will get into those later in the video. But what you do after that, and that's probably enough for one day. If these are new, or you probably work up to that over a period of days or even a couple weeks. Until you can do that and feel comfortable, it's always good to do a little bit less, more consistently with anything on the bass, really, but certainly shifting drills. And once you start to feel fatigue, just put the bass down, take the dog for a walk, or wash the dishes, or go for a stroll. Come back to it later in the day or the next day, and you'll feel those gains coming. We're going to explore all the finger combinations with these, and so next we'll do a 1 to 2 shift. I'm not going to play through the whole thing right now, but it's just 1 for the low note, 2 for the high note. So. And what I'm doing is shifting my 1 and then putting 2 down and shifting my 2 back and lifting the 1. And that warrants a complete separate video. If you want to learn more about that finger going down lifting concept, leave a comment below. We do that up and down, and then we do 1 to 4, but when we hit the last few notes, I'm going to switch to 3. I generally like to switch 4 and play third finger around F sharp. So this one will play 1 to 4, and there's no shift because it's the same position. Then we're going to shift. Then to D. Then to E. Now F sharp, I'm going to play third finger. And then G sharp. A with third finger. Then I go through and do the exact same thing starting on 2. So we'll go 2 to 1. And for this, I'm on 2. My first finger kind of knocks 2 out of the way and then goes up, and then we come back. So we do 2 to 1 all the way up and down, then 2 to 2, just like 1 to 1, same finger, no big deal, and then 2 to 4. And then we swap it out with third finger for the last few notes. That is the shifting drill vomit technique in a nutshell, and we're going to go way more into that in the next couple parts of this video. Those are the fundamentals of shifting, but there's much more in this video all about it. So let's get into the second big topic, which is posture. Now you're probably noticing that I'm adjusting my body as I go up and down the bass, and there's a little bit of this kind of bowing into the bass and coming back up. That is very much intentional, and as we get into 2 octaves, which is coming, that gets more extreme. Just like with the left elbow, having that left elbow on a string, that kind of concept, that also applies to posture, and this is true for standing and sitting. I will demo both. I want to get my body into the position of the new note before I get there. So let's say A to D. I'm going to play A, and I'm going to bow into the bass, just like so. And then before I go back, I'm going to stand a little bit more upright. So it's bowing and coming back, bowing and coming back. And if you've ever done a deadlift at the gym, this is very much that kind of feel. And actually that's a great way with weights or with other things to practice this posture and getting into this position. Like with deadlifting, it's important to think about keeping the chest open and not collapsing in. You don't want to be at your laptop like this. You want to be nice and open and free and let your head be up and looking around. Make sure that you're not kind of getting hunched over into the base. Now you'll notice that when I'm sitting, I'm not having the neck totally resting on my shoulder yet, although once I get into the second octave, I will do that. The danger with sitting is that there's a real tendency to let your body hunch over and collapse. So thinking about staying nice and open is super important. All right, let's start stretching our abilities with this. At this point, you should be comfortable doing all finger combinations, 1 for the initial note and 2 for the initial note in A major. And I love starting, it's probably obvious, but a great reason to start on the G string is it is the thinnest, so it's the easiest to play. And once you understand this motion, you can transfer that over to the other string and to other keys. Also, I haven't done any vibrato yet, and that was intentional just to learn the motion, but the first variation I would highly recommend is vibrating. And if you're new to vibrato, watch the videos that we've got linked up in the description, but just starting for 1-to-1 and adding some vibrato, nice easy vibrato, not too fast, just kind of nice and comfortable is what I recommend for the first variation. And I'm trying to vibrate as long as I possibly can before shifting. In fact, I'm actually feeling like the last oscillation of vibrato sends me into a shift, and that is a deep dive we could do in a future video. Again, comment below if you want to see that. And then we're going to navigate into the higher positions. The vibrato angle changes, but the feeling is the same. And what I like to do is start my day without vibrato and then add vibrato in. I often do no vibrato on the way up and then vibrato on the way down. That's a fun way to do it. I generally just pick one fingering for the day. I do not have the time or bandwidth in my life to do every single combination every single day. I got other things to do. So I'll do just 1-1, and then Tuesday I'll do 1-2, and Thursday I'll do 1-4 and swap it out to 3. Wednesday I'll do 2-1, and so on and so forth. The next week I'll do the ones I haven't done. You've also noticed that there has been no fourth finger for any of the low notes, and that's just because 4 on A, we don't really do that. So moving into B flat is a great way to practice fourth finger. And now we can practice first finger, second finger, and fourth finger for the low note. So let's do 4 for the low note, 1 for the high note. We'll play it in B flat. And my string is getting a little sticky, so I'm gonna go get a little bit of my fast fret. I did a short on that, which I will link up to if you want to learn more about that product. Much better. I do like starting with these keys that we're doing here in the video, A major, B flat major, and then what we've got coming. But ultimately, I like to do one key for the week, and I like to do all my technical exercises in that key. So if I was in G major, I would do G major shifting drills. And that means probably I would start on the D string and so on and so forth, A flat major. I just find that that helps me make sure I'm really stretching my technique and addressing what I need to address and not just getting caught in doing the same key all the time. Though I think A major is a great way to get these concepts down, and B flat's the great second stretch key. Next, we get into 2-octave shifting drills. These are considerably more complex just because you are changing string length so radically. By the time you get from here, this is this A, this is this A. I mean, that's like many musical instruments. The bow shift is going to be much more dramatic in the second octave. And as I go up, I'm going to use progressively less bow for the low note and more bow for the high note. I'm really trying to use my ear and make sure that I'm getting the same tone. So these will take time to develop. Definitely take your time. Maybe once you get to, maybe you could just practice going to the 9th first. And then when you're comfortable with that, go up to the 10th. And so on and so forth, so don't feel like you have to be a hero and get all the way up to the second octave. But I will do it today. So here we go. Let's do 2 for the whole thing. So 2 for the low note, 2 for the high note. I'm going to do 2-octave A major. Again, this is in this PDF if you want something to follow along with. And I will do no vibrato to start, and then the way down I will do vibrato. exactly how long that takes, but I know it's a few minutes of doing that. I have a wicked groove in my finger. It's a good way to build calluses. And that is a great tone exercise. It is a great posture exercise. It is a great right hand, right arm exercise, in addition to obviously being a good shifting exercise. Do you often have to do 2-octave shifts on the bass? I remember my wonderful bass teacher, Jeff Bradisage, who introduced these to me decades ago at this point. That's something he brought up, and the answer is no. You almost never, when have I ever done a 2-octave shift except like maybe once or twice in solo music, but you're developing capacity to get around the bass, and if you can do a 2-octave shift well and execute it well, you can do your daily shifts, no problem. And as with everything, I like to mix it up. Start my week with some 1-octave shifts and maybe do a few finger combinations. Then maybe the Thursday or Friday do a 2-octave scale and just pick one finger combination. That's plenty of shifting drill for me. And then I'm monitoring my entire body. I'm thinking about, is there any extra tension being held? What can I do on a scale of 1 to 10? How locked up am I? Can I bring it down a couple of notches? I'm always trying to be free and open and loose with my playing. Adding in vibrato, of course, that's another variation. And how loose am I with that? Do I feel tension creeping in when I do that? These are things that you need to, or I at least need to polish and revisit and look at every day. And shifting drills are a great way to do it. After you get A major, B flat major, 2-octave, same exact concept, we're just doing it in a different key, and also going over the D string. So it's like adding ankle weights and wrist weights, doing E major and doing F major. Those are great foundational exercises. And then there's so many variations you can do. One of the most obvious ones that I haven't done in this video, maybe I should have, is using a drone. You can drone on the root, you can drone on the fifth, you can draw on other notes, but those are the two most useful, I think. Putting a metronome on, 60 is a great tempo, really making sure that you're sticking to it. I've had 3 cups of coffee today, so I was definitely faster than that. And then seeing if you can slow this exercise down over time. This is a challenging exercise at 60, and doing it at like 50 is even more challenging. So stretch, push your abilities. Starting up bow is a great way to do it. You actually probably find that it's easier doing up bow because your arms are kind of going this way. But my favorite variation is doing dynamics. So starting soft, getting loud, or all sorts of other dynamic variations. And I've done a whole video on expressive techniques in developing that, which I will link up to here. We'll see you there.